Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. Good morning. All right, this is CF 642-21, CF 642-21. People of Guam, this is Joey Terlaje. Mr. Terlaje, what is your full name, sir?
Joey A. Terlaje, T-E-R-L-A-J-E.
All right, Mr. Arreola, just for the record, I requested this gentleman here in person. It's my understanding he was not allowed entry to the building due to some elevated temperature. Is that correct?
According to the marshal, Your Honor, that's correct.
That's fine. All right, at this point, since he, pursuant to the rules, could not come in, we're gonna conduct this via Zoom. All right, Mr. Terlaje, my name is Magistrate Judge Jonathan Kwan. This is a criminal hearing for the case against you. You're being recorded. Listen carefully. There are other people in this hearing. From the Attorney General's office, present is Assistant Attorney General Leonardo Rapadas. Your attorney, Attorney J. Arreola, is present. Probation is also present. At this point, Mr. Terlaje, an indictment has been issued by the Superior Court of Guam, charging you with felonious restraint as third-degree felony, official misconduct as a misdemeanor, official misconduct as a misdemeanor. Did you receive a copy of the complaint, of the indictment, sir?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
Okay, at this point also, the court notes the people filed in the errata to correct your date of birth. Did you receive that as well, sir?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
All right, at this point,
I received that.
let's take a few minutes. If the chamber clerk would please email Mr. Arreola, and his address, Mr. Arreola, we're gonna send over by email the copy of the errata. It's a one-page, one-sentence errata just for you, for your records.
Just changes the year, I understand, Your Honor?
I'm sorry, just changes the date of
Year?
birth. It changes the year, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna take the other defendant to give you time to receive that, okay?
That's okay, Your Honor, we're prepared. That's okay.
All right.
Thank you.
At this point, the court will send the errata to you. It has been properly filed. At this point, Mr. Arreola, the court has reviewed the document, the indictment issued by the Superior Court of Guam Grand Jury, issued by the people of Guam. The court finds everything in order. At this point, be aware you are not required to make a statement today. But if you decide to say something at this hearing, anything you say can be used against you. You also have the right to an attorney. The court notes Attorney Arreola is present on your behalf today. As to the matter of pretrial release conditions, Mr. Rapadas?
Yes, Your Honor, because this is his first appearance, we request several conditions. We request several conditions. Stay away, no contact with Vicky Terlaje. We'd also request that he will be, I suppose he'll be under pretrial supervision and so forth, but we request that he stay away from Superior Court regarding, stay away from the court, specifically probation office and marshal services, except to the extent that he has contact with whoever his assigned probation officer will be, so long as this probation officer is not part of the case.
That's a little vague for me to put in order, Mr. Rapadas.
Right, so you stay away from the probation office. I mean, we're okay with him checking in by phone, email, some of the other ways that the defendants are allowed to check in. But if he has actual physical contact with a probation officer, it'd be a probation officer that is not, he hasn't had contact with as far as his case is concerned. Basically someone who is not part of the case. We don't know, we're unsure whether or not he has a job or not. We're not going to be requesting, house arrest or anything like that. We would request, however, maybe a $5,000 unsecured bond. And the other conditions the court normally places on defendants with felonies. But the main thing is to stay away from the probation office and the marshals who could potentially become witnesses or be witnesses.
Now, I'll let Mr. Arreola chime in here a second as soon as he gets his turn, but the problem I have with that particular provision is the court, nor the defense counsel, nor anyone other than your office know who those people are. So at this point, I can't put a blanket stay away because he has to do certain things at probation and the marshals. pursuant to this court's order of conditional release, but I can't, you're not giving me any names or anybody to stay away from.
Right, maybe we can say this, we can say if we stay away from probation, the probation office and the marshal's office, and that we reach out to the probation office to find out who they intend to assign to him, and that we work with Mr. Arreola to make sure that it's someone that he hasn't had contact with, and then that can be put in the order.
All right, probation, any history? No history, correct? Okay, at this point, Mr. Arreola, any response, sir?
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, I'd ask that I enter my client's plea and have him arraigned first before conditions are released. On behalf of Mr. Terlaje, I'm entering my appearance. We've received a copy of the indictment and the summons and waive the reading thereof. We enter a plea of not guilty to all charges contained in that indictment. Speedy trial is waived. We request the grand jury recording, all discovery, Brady, and Lexamana material. Jury of 12 is demanded as well, Your Honor. Thank you very much. As to conditions of release, we wish to be heard.
At this point, all right. Mr. Terlaje, did you ever serve in the military, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Court record is going to show that you're present with your attorney, Attorney Joaquin Arreola Jr. Let the record show that you're waiving a reading of the indictment at this time, that you're pleading not guilty, that you're waiving your right to a speedy trial, that you requested in trial of 12, that request is granted and so ordered. The people of law and order to provide all statutory discovery to the defense, including Lexamana notes. The court shall also order that a copy of the grand jury proceedings be reduced down to a compact disc and provided to your attorney and the people's attorney. At this point, your next court hearing for this case is before Judge Vernon Perez. Judge Vernon Perez. And he will issue the next court date to your lawyer in writing. So you need to stay in touch with Attorney Arreola, because he's going to explain to you what's going to happen next and when the next hearing is. As to pretrial release conditions requested by the AG's office, Mr. Arreola.
Thank you, Your Honor. On its face, the first charge of the indictment alleges that it occurred sometime in 2017, about 1 year beyond the statute of limitations. It's now 2021, 2022. So on its face, I note the staleness of the first charge, felonious restraint. As to conditions of release, Your Honor, we'd ask that he be released on his personal recognizance. He's not gone anywhere at any time since these allegations were first brought up. He is a law-abiding former law enforcement officer. He's got a long family history, connections and ties to the community, again, with no prior record. And we'd ask that he be released on a personal recognizance bond with standard conditions, including reporting once a month, regularly with probation office, not leaving the island without the permission of court, staying away from certain identified individuals. We have no objection to staying away from the alleged victim in this case, Vicky Lynn Deragadzu. We understand she may be in prison or in custody, and therefore would not have any contact, he would not have any contact with her anyway. As to the Superior Court Marshal's Division or Probation Office Division, we would ask that, of course, Your Honor, he's required to provide to Pretrial Services Division, probation offices in person for whatever conditions the court may impose. He also has family members, including his son and daughter-in-law, who are employed by the probation and marshal services. So he has reason to have contact with those family members at least, or that section. If the court if the government would like him to stay away from certain identified witnesses, we'd ask that they provide them so that we can be made aware of who those witnesses are, and so that he can avoid contact with them in the event contact occurs. With the court, a vague order to stay away from all probation officers and all marshals, or stay away from the divisions is insufficient to enforce. More importantly, it sets the client up for potential violations when he's not aware of exactly who he should be not in contact with. The issue is about making contact with potential witnesses in the case, and so those witnesses should be identified. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. You're innocent of the charges as it stands today, I'm gonna release you on a $5,000 personal recognizance bond with conditions. These conditions are imposed not because you are guilty, but to ensure your appearance at subsequent hearings and for the safety of the community. If you do not follow my conditions, you can be rearrested, you'll be brought to jail, and you can be required to pay $5,000 in cash. And you might not get out until after the trial or until the case is dismissed. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
While you are released, you will obey all federal and local laws, all laws, parking laws, speeding laws, driving laws, jaywalking laws, and abide by all reasonable terms set up by pretrial services. After this hearing, you will receive a document, the order of conditional release, that has all the conditions you must follow and all the phone numbers you have to call. Please follow it. This will be provided at a mutual location because you're not allowed in the building right at this time. You shall report to probation right after this hearing by telephone. You'll call into probation by telephone for intake and assessment because you are not allowed into the building right now due to the elevated temperature. At this point, you'll report to probation once a week by telephone, once a week. If you cannot call, your phone is broken, I suggest you walk, use a bicycle, a skateboard, public transit, or hitch a ride, but you're gonna get out of probation once a week before Thursday at 3 p.m. to check in person if you cannot call. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
You must inform the court or pretrial services in writing before you make any changes to your residence or telephone number. You are ordered to stay away from and have no contact with the alleged victim, BRMT, born in 1990. No contact either in person through third party, by telephone, letter, email, text, electronic device, or social media, or any other method. You will stay away from her residence, dwelling, place of employment, school, daycare center, establishments, or any family or social function. Upon becoming aware of her presence or planned presence, you must leave, not her. You are restrained from threatening to commit or committing acts of violence against, from harassing, annoying, molesting the alleged victim, witnesses, or any family or household members. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do not possess any firearms or other deadly weapons. Any and all firearms or weapons, including identification cards, must be removed from your residence and surrendered to pretrial services. Probation of the police are authorized to search your person, residence, or vehicle for firearms or weapons at any time. At this point, probation, once he finishes intake and processing by telephone, please ensure that probation personnel meets him at his home and collects the firearms or watches him transfer the physical possession of the firearms to another individual, all of them. All right? Confirm?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. You shall not possess, use, or consume any alcoholic beverages, illegal controlled substances, or marijuana. You shall submit to random alcohol and drug testing at the request of pretrial services. Failure to submit to such testing will be considered a violation. Probation of the police are authorized to search your person, residence, or vehicle for alcoholic beverages, illegal controlled substances, or marijuana at any time. You shall not enter any alcohol establishments or bars. You shall not associate with any known felons. You must turn in your passport to pretrial services. You cannot leave Guam without the permission of this court. Your next court hearing, sir, is before Judge Vernon Perez. Judge Vernon Perez. And he will issue the next court date to your lawyer in writing. So you need to stay in touch with Attorney Arreola because he's going to have to explain to you what's going to happen next and when the next hearing is. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Your Honor?
Let's go ahead, sir.
As to all firearms, he has none. Again, his house can be subject to search. All firearms that he previously owned have been transferred and removed from the residence prior to today's hearing.
That's fine. At this point, just to
You're right.
verify we on the line. Okay. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Arreola, given Mr. Rapadas' concern, probation just informed me, just out of an abundance of caution, they're coordinating weekly supervision rather than with local probation, with U.S. probation. Just be aware.
Thank you.
All right. At this point, your next court hearing is for Judge Perez. You have the right to a bail modification motion or redetermination motion within 24 hours after today's hearing. If you receive that, please work with your attorney, Attorney Arreola, to do so. Mr. Arreola, in reference to the deficiency or issue you raised with the first charge, that can be brought before Judge Perez via normal motion, all right?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Anything further from the AG's?
As to pretrial, while the client is in Hagana, would you like him to remain for signing of the bail order and other conditions, or
Yes,
just call?
we will send individuals, to the parking lot at your building. They can
Thank you.
meet there. That way, our people will
Thank
be
you, sir.
properly. All right,
Thank
so how this is gonna work is have your client go down there, probation will go over there right now, and then from there, once they complete the signing, have him go up to your office and make the phone call to check in for intake and processing.
Very well. Thank you, Your Honor.
Fathers, anything further, sir?
Yes, Your Honor, if we propose to modify the order with specific names, we'll do that.
Please do so, and then notice, Mr. Arreola. Anything further, Mr.
Yes,
Arreola?
of course.
Nothing for the defense. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Good luck to you, sir.